Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Turn Right Machine Works. My name is Keith. Today we're in here at the PlasmaCAM. I want to bring you up to date on some modifications that I've been doing. A couple weeks ago we started cleaning it out, tearing it down, and we did modifications to our water tray and the side draft air suction. We also got into adding a compressed refrigerant dryer system to our dryers, modified our desiccant holders and all of that into the power supply cart, and we'll get around to taking a look at that in a minute. I get asked a lot of questions, time to time. I actually get a lot of calls, and I handle a lot of calls just out because I've projected my relationship with my PlasmaCAM on the internet. I get a lot of inquisitive people. Some of them actually say, "Hey, give me the real scoop." I give you the real scoop. If it wasn't the real scoop, then you would see something like in my video called Impressive. Check that one out. So anyway, I have a really good relationship with my PlasmaCAM, and it's the real deal. I'm walking the talk, my mistakes and everything else. 2011 is when I bought my PlasmaCAM, and I took 5 months. Not that I worked 8 hours a day for 5 months putting it together. I did my shop work. I made the bills be paid. You have to, because there's a certain amount of cost involved in picking up the PlasmaCAM, and I wanted one for about 6 years before I actually picked one up. So through those 5 months of getting the PlasmaCAM and actually creating my first spark is because I didn't want to just pull it out of the box, throw it on a slab, hit the button, and go. I wanted it to be down. I wanted it to be rigid. One of the first things that I was looking at when I was thinking PlasmaCAM was the rigidity of the table and everything else. This thing is dynamite. It's strong. When you slide in 1 inch, 3/4 inch plate up on here, manhandle. I don't have an overhead crane, so I do know how rigid this machine has to be able to go ahead and take a piece of plywood, slide it in, and manhandle a piece of material on here. All right. Maybe later I might have one. I don't do that much big heavy stuff on my table, although I do have some 1 inch stuff to cut out, but I have a smaller piece that I can pick up physically and set it down onto the grates. 2013, PlasmaCAM sent me a pipe cutter attachment, and I have that pipe cutter attachment right here. You look at it and you see the yellows and you see how bright it is. Okay, through all of those processes that I did to get my PlasmaCAM ready, and the concentration I put in on my draft system and my water tray. Look, this is 2016 now. Okay, 5 years I've had this PlasmaCAM, and my blues look blue, and my yellow. There's my carriage over there. There's the bearing support for that side there, guide. Okay, I get asked, hey, how do you clean that up? About every 6 months. My draft suction and water tray keep the top side clean for a long period of time. When I first got it, I was, oh, wait a minute, I missed this one. When I first got it, I was wiping it down a lot, but the more I used it, and you do get pierce sprays. When you pierce into the top, the more pierces you have on the top of your materials, the more debris you're going to have on the top side. It's just period. That's what you're gonna get. But I didn't have the staining smoke and fumes coming up above, so that's why my colors stay the way they are. And I do get a little bit of coloring around my carriage and stuff like that, and What I usually do is I take a small throwaway paintbrush like this, and I use citrus cleaner from Zep. I like Zep products. I'm not, selling Zep, but I buy it for myself. And anyway, I mix the concentrate and I dilute it in, so it's a kind solution. And I spray it in there, and I just take the throwaway paintbrush and I just kind of like break it loose, and then a combination of the air nozzle and a soft rag, and I'm able to keep the finish on my PlasmaCAM. But I don't have to work at it because my draft and my water tray are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Now, what we did is we took 3 inches basically off of the bottom of my water tray. Now I'm going to bring you around so that you get a look down into the pit here, because when you take, and the pipe cutting attachment, it can work full span of the table, and you have full capabilities of cutting the maximum area in between your rollers. But if you have to cut an angle, a cope shape on your pipe to match another one, or whatever your end cut be, maybe even just cutting it off to length, you need to have one of your rollers assemblies inside your table so that your cutting surface is over your cutting bed. Alright, now let me bring you in and I'll show you the reason why in 2013 the first thing right off the bat is I went to check this fit and I couldn't make it happen. Alright, here's the roller assembly, and I'm going to lower it down in here. Alright, and this sets in between the grates. Now I only put a couple grates in here because I wanted the room to show you this, and then we're going to show you a little bit about what I did with the tray and everything else. This is the section that I cut off. Okay, so everything in relationship to that cutoff is that far off. So this grate here, which is an inch down into the water, when I have the water level up, was that this grate was that height, so I couldn't get the pipe cutting attachment down in here. So I started making a modified pipe cutter attachment, and then got sidetracked with life and a lot of other things going on, and I never got around to running my pipe cutting attachment. Now I'm going to be able to put this in and play with it, and it's going to be one of our first things that we'll be playing with here in the next couple weeks. All right, so that's why I hadn't run the pipe cutting attachment yet. Okay, this is a view over to the open side where I don't have any of the grates in the way, and this is the funnel where my air is sucked in from this side, and it's exactly the same on the other side. And I have 2 air pumps on the outside of the building, and that's how my draft is created. All right, now here's the same 3-inch piece there that we took, and here's the corner of the water tray, and it used to be 3 inches higher. So its lip, that air had to draw over that lip. All right, now I have the cowling, and we'll see that when it's all assembled, around the top of the table, and that's what really helped draw it in. So I'm going to have the water tray is going to be down a little bit, and it'll still catch the molten dross that flies down from under your plate and extinguish that as soon as it hits the water. And then I'm going to have more open area to actually draft this. Now another reason why I needed to lower this table down is because I need to build a deck or a platform that I can toe clamp or mount items to be worked on, and that's because 2 different attachments I now have for the PlasmaCAM, and one is the engraving setup, so I'll be able to do some engraving. Not that I wouldn't be able to do it right on top of this plate here, but but I'm probably going to want some accessory, some jigging, and having a jig table would be very handy for that application. The other driver for this need to lower the water tray and build the secondary platform is because I have the 3D carving attachment now, and I'll be doing 3D carving. And probably one of the first projects that will be done in here will be that Porsche gauge mount that John Saunders and I are working on, and he's helping me out with the Fusion 360, and we're kind of learning as I go on that project as well. So all in all, the motivation to do this is not just for any one item, it's a combination to expand the use of this machine, and I will be following up with videos on progress and how it is, and I'll be walking the talk just as I have through the rest of my videos. All right, let's go ahead and move on over to the power supply, and I'm going to show you what I've added on for air dry. We're over here taking a look at our air system, and first off, looking up here, you'll notice that there's no desiccant holders, no filter, nothing hanging from the ceiling. This is open and free breathing. All right. Now we did have a switch that was down for our submersible pump that would raise and lower the water in the tray, and the percentage of time that we actually use that, we went ahead and disconnected that system, took out the tray, and we just left a drain on our tray. We found that that grate that we have in there actually catches the items, and you can reach down in and you can grab your items, and you're not down in the muck, and it works out pretty good. And then we're ready to clean, we just hit the drain, we drain out the water, and then we're able to scoop it out. So I took that electrical box, I brought it up here, and now this electrical box has got one outlet going into it, and this runs the refrigerant compressed dryer. All right, so let's take a look at the system down here. Okay, we took our cabinet down here and we opened up, we plasma cut out the sides, it's the sides of the cabinet, but it's the front and back of our whole machine here, so that we have open access here. We will be plasma cutting out a really nice grate that will incorporate the in and outs we need for it. We took the door off, we threw the door away, and we have this side open here. Our dryer is just sitting in here, and this is a Wilkerson compressed air dryer. I know you're gonna ask probably, it's 25 SCFM, and it was given to us, and we're putting it into the system. Gentleman came down from Plymouth and dropped it off for us to play with, and one of my one of my past videos talked about that, and we're just getting around to it. So we have the power, and it's just as simple as hitting the switch right there. This gauge I just put in to plug the hole right here. I'm getting ready to get a little push button drain, because this is your automated bleed system that will automatically spit out the accumulator that's in there. And but right now I just put the air gauge on there for right now. All right, so we come off the air, and the first thing it does, it goes into a stone separator right here, and we have a bleeder right here. I don't have my air on. All right, yeah, we have pressure building here now. All right, here's the bleed. For the entire time that I've had this and my desiccants on there, I've never got water out of this system. So the water that I do have is so minute, it doesn't accumulate in here, and it's the way my plumbing is up, overhead, down, drops, and all of that. All right, so it leaves the stone filter, and then it goes into the compressor. All right, after it goes through the refrigerant compressor, it comes out on this side here. And let me see if I'm going to be able to do this here without pulling a lead here. And I have the 2 desiccant dryers over here to where I can drop the cartridges and change out the desiccant in them. And then I have the micron filter trailing the entire assembly, and then the micron filter then goes into the power supply right here. Neat little package. If you notice also, every one of my leads that has to do with being around my plasma machine are not touching the floor. There's no way a spark or molten piece of slag dross can pop out on the floor, roll next to something, and burn a hole into it. And that was one of the things when I first got my PlasmaCAM and I was building everything, and I was looking at how people set up their machines, and that was one thing that really bugged me, was leads going across. But I've had that habit since I started stick welding. Even a stick welding stinger, I was conscious of where that was laying while I was working, whether I was torching off big gobs of slag on a big cut, or if I was just dropping regular sparks stick welding, or dragging it over hot metal and stuff like that. Always keeping an eye on that. And you know, it doesn't mean I'm going to go change my air hose in there by my lathe off the floor. That hose is that long so that I can drag it where I need to in the shop, and 2 coils, and it's out of my walking feet. So anyhow, all right, so there's a good look at what I've done to upgrade the air, and we're going to be giving feedback at how this actually plays out and how this reduces the amount of desiccant I have to dry. And also, people say that the desiccant, the rejuvenated desiccant, breaks down, or I mean, it does break down minute, okay, but so far, for what, 4 years I've been using the desiccant, and or 3 years I should say, to the extent where I had the 2 containers and everything else, I'm still using the same desiccant. I haven't had to buy any new. All right, I have enough desiccant to fill those 2 chambers back to back, and I just swap them out, rejuvenate it. I store it in mason jars until I'm ready to use it, and that's how I kind of work that. All right, okay, you're going, hey, what's with this hose going through here? Well, I'm also getting ready for the pneumatic engraver, and I need the air supply over there. Plus, I also wanted I've been used to having an air lead over there, and this is keeping it off the floor. It runs through this box tube. This gear inside here has still got free travel back and forth, and this actually is pretty safe running through there. I'll be keeping an eye on it, but I've chosen to give this an attempt, and I've ran this back and forth a couple times already, and this air hose is not bothered by the gear. There's plenty of room in there, and it's kind of one of those continuous things that can't get tangled up into each other. So I am running this through here. Okay, so we're going to pull our pieces out of here. We're going to finish putting our grates in. We have a couple other things what we want to do. We're going to try this time, because we're going to be wanting to lift this grate in and out with ease, and we're going to go ahead and take our wire feeder and we're going to set it up, and we are going to tack our grates together so that we can grab them as one assembly in and out. Because when we pull them out anyway, and they've never been apart, we don't take them apart by disassembling them. Once they're assembled, it'd be nice if they were in one spot so that we could just grab them and pull them out. We normally take 2 bars and we crisscross them and we hold them like a mill clamp, and that kind of holds them together. We get them out here. We index them 4 times and we flip it over and we index them another 4 times. This is our 3rd set of grates since 2011. Of course, I'd say 2011, 2012, there was minimum usage on this because I was in a learning curve, but this last set that I took out of here, I pretty well used them up. All right, they were pretty well used up. The figurines and the constant running on them does do them in. I also want to see if the tack welding them together will minimize the amount of heat warpage you do get on them after a duration of period of time. So those are kind of things that I'm just kind of like mentally testing out myself. All right, so we got a lot to look forward to on the PlasmaCAM. You saw when we got in close that I had to scrape and paint a little bit around our edge. This air draft is aluminum, our tray is stainless steel, and the aluminum is being eaten up by the spray of the water. The electrolysis action on the aluminum is slowly fading out. I have some more time on it before I have to replace it, but when I do replace it, I will be putting stainless steel shrouding around here, and we're going to be playing around. I wanted to test this out before I actually commit myself to doing something in stainless because of the cost. How the water splashing and everything else relates to the tray being at this 10 inches versus 7. I was about 7 inches off of the great points with the other water level, and I'm 3 inches lower now, so it definitely is going to be about 10 inches down. I have another viewer sent me in a PlasmaCAM file that actually cuts out these points, and he gave me 2 samples so that I could go ahead and cut them out and then put them in my brake and shape the little ear. And it's almost designed like a fender clip, okay? And this will be able to pop these on and replace points, but also in my figurines and cutouts, sometimes I have tips on multiple times. I'm cutting out that same pattern and that same part tips. These will help out on that. And also too, who knows, you know, what else I can pick up just out, you know, using these points here. And my one set of edge stops or guides, I clean them up, but I'm still working on the same set that I got in 2011. So those are kind of an item that you don't really wear out. All right, I'm gonna pop this in and get the you know, the draft covers around the outside edge. All right, I'll give you a quick glimpse after I get that done. Boy, it feels good to have her back together. We got a few minor things to take care of, but we're well on our way of getting this thing running within a matter of a couple hours. We got our shrouds on, and that's the secret. The shrouding and the blankets you see me put on partial plates or having the full sheet on there, that's the secret to the draft. You got to keep that. You have draft control, but you gotta control it so that it's always a positive draw on your cut, and that makes all the difference on your piece of equipment actually, and your working environment staying as clean as it has. All right, the next video will be cutting out some of these points here, or we're going to give it a try cutting out some of those points. We're going to be testing the power supply since we've put the new dryer and everything else on there. Make sure that we still have adequate airflow and we're able to maintain that peak pressure that needs to pierce and cut with the success that we have had with our plasma cutter. And we'll be juicing this thing up because I have special plates here on the sides and things like that, and I do have to pull this rail out to do the pipe cutting attachment. But we are going to give that a go, and also I think I can incorporate a little engraver all in that at the same time. So we'll see what happens. All right, until the next video, guys, get her done.